Hey everyone, welcome back. We're tackling a big one today. You know how tough it can be out there for small businesses? The competition is fierce.
Absolutely. And, we see that reflected in your stack of articles here about the challenges, but more importantly, the strategies for not just surviving, but really thriving.
Right. And speaking of competition, these articles keep bringing up Amazon and Walmart. They're practically in a league of their own.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, though? Those names might change over time, but the core challenges they represent, those have always been there for small businesses.
Okay, true, but it does feel like the scale has shifted, Like they set the standard now for pricing, speed, convenience, and it's hard to even keep up.
And you're right about that the pace has definitely intensified. I think the digital age has really amplified everything, but the underlying issues, those are pretty consistent.
So if it's not new, what can we do about it? Like one thing these articles mention is niching down, getting super specific.
Ah, yes. And they give that great example of the bakery, right? Like instead of just being another bakery, they go all in on gluten-free vegan treats.
Right. So they're not competing with every bakery in town, just the ones doing the exact same thing.
Exactly. And that's where the power comes in. They become the experts for that niche. The people who really need that specific thing, they'll seek them out.
So instead of being a small fish in a big pond, you're like the big fish in a smaller one. That makes sense.
And think about it, they're less vulnerable to those price wars, too. They're not just another commodity. They're providing something really specific.
So for everyone listening out there, what's your unique strength? What's that niche you can really dominate?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's finding that sweet spot where your passion and skills meet a real need in the market.
This reminds me of another point they make about customer service being a secret weapon for small businesses.
Oh, yeah. We've all had those experiences with big companies where you feel like just a number.
Right.
Small businesses can really shine here.
Speaking of shining, I had this amazing experience at a tiny bookstore. The owner literally tracked down a rare book for me, even ordered it from another shop.
That's what I'm talking about. That personal touch turns customers into fans who tell their friends. That's marketing you can't buy.
Like building a little army of cheerleaders for your brand. Okay, so we've got the niche, the amazing service. Now, these articles are really hammering on the online thing.
Yeah, no website, no social media. It's like you don't even exist anymore. But it's not just being online. It's about doing it strategically.
See, this is where I get lost because they mention SEO, social media marketing, email campaigns. It feels like a whole other job on top of everything else.
And you know what? It, often IS a lot for one person to handle. But that's where sometimes getting some expert help can be a game changer.
Okay, before we move on from SEO, any super quick tips for beginners like me? It seems so technical.
Well, think like your customer. What are the top 3 things they'd Google to find you? Make sure those are on your website. Simple but effective.
Okay, that I can handle. So beyond the tech stuff, what else did these articles highlight?
One thing they emphasized is agility. Big companies are like those giant ships. Slow to turn small businesses are speedboats. You can adapt faster.
Oh, this reminds me of how many small businesses pivoted during the pandemic. They found new ways to connect while bigger places struggled to keep up.
Exactly. That flexibility is a huge advantage. You have to leverage it. And speaking of leveraging, they also talk about brand identity.
Yeah. So not just the logo, right? It's like the personality and feel of your business, what people think of when they hear your name.
Exactly. And it goes deeper than that. It's about values, too. Your visual style, your voice. It all creates an emotional connection with the right customers.
So it's not just about getting people in the door. It's about making them want to stay and tell their friends.
Right. And that's where things like those compelling offers come in. Not always about lowest price, but about the total package you offer.
One article even mentioned a business using text messages for a VIP program I love that makes you feel special.
It's all about that added value, making customers feel like they're part of something. And that can be super powerful for loyalty.
So much to think about. Building a community, offering something different, and focusing on that niche. What really jumps out at you from all this?
It's that reminder that small businesses don't have to play by the big guys' rules. You have your own strengths, things they can't replicate.
I like that, playing our own game. So speaking of which, one article mentioned this partnership between Business Solutions 360 and MOTC Telecom.
Ah, yes, that's a great illustration of how collaboration can work even for small businesses, like assembling a team of superheroes.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about what they did and how it worked out.
So Business Solutions 360, they're all about the coaching side, helping businesses strategize, and MOTC Telecom, They provide the tech solutions.
Ah, okay. So by teaming up, they could offer a more complete package, kind of a one-stop shop.
Exactly.
Mm.
Small businesses could get the guidance and the tools to put it all into practice. Made a lot of sense.
Did the article say how it working out for them? Like, did they both actually benefit?
Yeah, they did. Business Solutions got a way bigger client base because they had more to offer, and MOTC tapped into a whole new market through the partnership.
Win-win. I like it. It shows you don't have to do it all alone. Finding the right partners can really boost you.
Right. And that ties into something else that came up about competition itself. It's not always a bad thing.
Yeah, at first I was like, wait, what? But the more I think about it, competition does push you to be better.
Keeps you on your toes, right?
Huh.
Like if you were the only game in town, would you work as hard to innovate? Probably not.
True. So instead of being intimidated, you can use it as fuel to step up your own game.
And, sometimes that pressure forces you to be more creative to find solutions you wouldn't have otherwise.
Okay, that makes sense. Like competition as a motivator, not just a threat.
Exactly. Now, shifting back to the online world for a sec, we talked about being strategic, not just busy, but how do we do that?
Yeah, because it's easy to get overwhelmed with all the different platforms and types of content. Where do you even start?
Start with your customer. Where do they hang out online? Are they on Instagram, TikTok, or more on LinkedIn? Go where they are.
Makes sense. Don't waste time on platforms where your audience isn't even present.
And don't feel like you have to master everything. Either pick the formats you enjoy and that fit your brand.
Okay, good advice. What
And-
about SEO? That still feels like a big mystery.
Well, at its core, it's making sure your website shows up when people search for stuff related to your business.
So, like, if I'm that gluten-free bakery, I want to be at the top of the list when someone Googles that, right?
Exactly. And while the technical side can get complex, there are simple things you can do.
Like what? Give us one easy win.
Make sure your website is written clearly and uses the words your customers would actually search. Easy to read, easy to find.
Got it. Speaking their language, basically, both online and offline.
Now, remember those compelling offers we talked about earlier? It's not just about being the cheapest option.
Right. It's about that added value, giving people a reason to choose UO, even if someone else is a bit cheaper.
Think bundles, special promos, loyalty programs get creative.
Like that text message VIP club we mentioned. I'd sign up for that in a heartbeat.
Exactly.
Right.
You want to make people feel like they're part of something special, and that builds loyalty.
So it's community building, offering something unique, A&D, focusing on that niche. It all ties together.
And don't forget about your team. The articles talk about building a strong internal culture, too.
Yeah, your employees are the ones interacting with customers every day. It makes a difference how they're treated.
Happy employees, happy customers.
Yeah.
It's a ripple effect. You got to create a positive environment.
Because when you love what you do, it shows, and that attracts the right people, both employees and ND customers.
Absolutely. It all feeds into each other.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something crucial that sometimes gets overlooked, the financial side of things.
Oh, this is where I need help, because I'm more of the creative type. Numbers aren't my forte.
And that's okay. A lot of entrepreneurs are like that, but you got to have a handle on the money stuff to make it work.
So what are the basics? What should I be focusing on?
First, know where your money is coming from. A&D going to track those expenses meticulously.
Right. Seems obvious, but I bet a lot of us are kind of fuzzy on the details.
More than you think.
Oh.
You got to have that clear picture to make smart decisions about pricing and growth and all that.
Okay. Tracking is step one. What else?
Budget. It's your roadmap. Don't just wing it. A solid budget helps you allocate resources and stay on track.
So it's like my financial guardrails to keep me from going off course and overspending.
Exactly. And, if numbers really aren't your thing, don't be afraid to get help from a professional.
Makes sense. Having an accountant or financial advisor can be an investment that saves you money in the long run.
Totally. And, while we're talking about investments, don't forget to invest in yourself and your team, too.
Oh, yeah. The articles mention that professional development training, keeping your skills sharp.
Because the world is changing so fast, right?
Yeah.
You got to stay ahead of the curve to stay competitive.
Makes sense. So financial smart's staying updated.
Wow.
We also got to remember that passion we talked about.
Ah, yes, because running a business is a marathon, not a sprint. You'll hit bumps in the road. It's inevitable.
And it's that passion that keeps you going when things get tough, right? Reminds you why you're doing this.
Exactly. When your work feels meaningful, you're more resilient. You can weather those storms.
So find that thing you truly believe in and build your business around that. That's what I'm hearing.
And, this ties into another big theme that came up, social responsibility and sustainability.
Yeah, more and more customers care about that stuff. Now they want to support businesses that do good.
It's not just about the product anymore. It's about the values behind it. the impact you're making.
So it's not just altruism, it's actually smart business to consider those things.
Right. You attract customers who share your values, and you contribute to a better world, win-win.
Okay, so much good stuff here. I'm already making a list of things to work on. What else did these articles touch on?
Well, one thing they kept coming back to was this idea of purpose, having that deeper WHY behind your business.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, but how does that actually play out day to day?
It's about more than just making money. It's about making a difference,
Yeah.
you know, aligning your work with your values.
So, like, if I'm passionate about sustainability, I build that into my business model from the ground up.
Exactly. And that passion becomes contagious. It attracts customers who believe in the same things. It motivates your team.
It's not just about what you sell, but how you sell it, your whole approach.
Right. And, speaking of approach, these articles also talked about the importance of data.
Oh, data's another one of those things that can feel overwhelming.
I hear you, but it doesn't have to be scary. Think of it as a tool to understand your customers better.
So, like tracking website traffic, social media engagement, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It tells you what's working, what's not.
Yeah.
It helps you refine your strategies.
So instead of just guessing, you're making decisions based on actual evidence.
And, nowadays there are tools that make it easier than ever to collect and analyze that data.
Okay, that's good to know because I do think sometimes we rely on gut feeling when we could be more data-driven.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But remember, data is just information. It's up to you to interpret it and make smart choices.
So it's like having a compass. It points you in the right direction, but you still got to do the walking.
Great analogy.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up, let's touch on something that can be a game changer for small businesses funding.
Ah, yes. The money question, always a tricky one.
The articles mentioned different options, traditional loans, crowdfunding, even angel investors.
So it's about knowing what's out there and finding the right fit for your specific situation.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to seek guidance. There are resources and organizations that help small businesses navigate this stuff.
Makes sense. So we've covered a lot today. It's clear there's no magic bullet for small business success.
But what we do have are these guiding principles.
Mm-mm.
The niche, the service, the online presence.
And the mindset, right? Being adaptable, embracing competition, finding your purpose.
Absolutely. It's about constantly learning, growing, and refining your approach.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling inspired. These articles have given me so much to think about.
And remember, these are just starting points. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep their entrepreneurial spirit burning.
That's what it's all about. So thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep thriving.